Amid fears Britain could be tied to an Irish border backstop arrangement after Brexit, the Tory MP claimed EU would not want the agreement in place because it reflects what many EU countries want: benefits of customs union membership with no freedom of movement. In a bid to get a Brexit deal agreed with the Brussels bloc and resolve the controversial Irish backstop, the Prime Minister is expected to have signed up to the possibility of a permanent customs union with the EU, unless a better deal is reached within 2 years. The debate began when Mr. Stewart told BBC Politics Live, "On one hand, the Brexiteers are saying this is a surrender, a white flag. From the position of many people in Europe, this deal is far too good for Britain, which is why they are not going to want to stick with it. From their point of view, this sounds like Norway with control over borders, which is what a lot of European states would want. From the position of many people in Europe, this deal is far too good for Britain, Rory Stewart, and that's where they are going to want to move us on, and we have a common interest to move on." A puzzled Andrew Neil said, "Who in Europe has said it is too good for us, Mr. Stewart responded, "Well, because they have described exactly this repeatedly over the last 6 months, Mr. Neil said. "Who has said that?" In response, the Tory MP claimed Barnier and his negotiators have defined something very close to Mrs May's backstop proposal, in which Britain remains in the customs union, as being one of their red lines. The BBC host then asked if Britain will have a sovereign right to leave the backstop arrangement. The Tory MP revealed, "The proposal, as I understand it, is there would be a commission equally composed of British representatives, EU representatives and independent representatives that will come to the agreement on to how that was left." Brexit news. Rory Stewart claims EU view May's deal is too good for UK. Image, BBC. What will determine it, in the end, is going to be Britain's view on it. In the end, of course, in the most extreme situation, nobody will want to do that. Attempting to get clarification on the claim, Mr. Neil asked, "So, in the best circumstances it goes to some form of arbitration and therefore we do not have a sovereign right to leave the backstop?" The MP said Mr. Neil was absolutely right, but Britain does not think it will end up in a backstop, and Europe doesn't want to trap us in the arrangement. Mr. Neil fired back once again and said, "Why would Europe not want to keep us into a system that would stop us from doing our own free trade deal? Why would it want that?" The Tory MP replied, "Because from their point of view, from many people in Europe, they feel this is exactly what many European states want, which is control over immigration and unfettered access to the single market on goods, and they believe that these 4 freedoms are unalienable and would say this is breaking the 4 freedoms." Mr. Neil said Mr. Stewart was making up half a dozen things in his claim, adding, "The customs union is not related to free movement. The single market is different from the customs union. That is related to free movement." The veteran broadcaster referenced Turkey's customs union arrangement with the EU and said it does not have freedom of movement. The Tory MP said, "The backstop arrangement proposed would be a customs arrangement going a long way beyond Turkey. It is not a Turkish-style arrangement. This is exactly why Europe wouldn't want this to be a permanent arrangement." Prime Minister Theresa May's draft Brexit deal, a 500-page document expected to be released on Wednesday evening, has already faced widespread criticism. Backbencher MP Daniel Kaczynski told Express.co.uk, "I understand there needs to be a compromise. But I think this compromise is a step too far into the Remainer camp, whereby the compromise is such that the European Union will continue to dictate the laws in this country. That's simply unacceptable. That is not what the British people voted for." Former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson has also ridiculed the agreement and said, "For the first time in 1,000 years, this Parliament, will not have a say over the laws that govern this country. It is a quite incredible state of affairs." Prominent Tory backbencher Jacob Rees-Mogg added, "White flags have gone up all over Whitehall. It is a betrayal of the Union."